Welcome to the Friday Night Campfire Stories. My name is Rob and I will be your host for this evening. For those of you that may be new here, I'm a short story writer, and every single Friday we experience one of the chapters from one of my short stories. This week, we come to a conclusion. This is the finale of Sliced. We have followed Chef Katie through her journey through a cooking competition called Sliced that has created quite a lot of dips and turns and scenarios that we didn't really see coming. But we have come down to the conclusion. Today is the finale. So if you haven't watched the first 3 chapters, I would suggest going back to watch those 3 to get caught up. But yes, although our story is coming to an end, I can say it's only just beginning. And I don't know if you guys are ready for what is about to happen, but there's only one way to find out. This is the finale of Sliced. Sliced, Chapter 4. Katie didn't remember falling asleep that night, but she must have because she was woken up to one final alarm ringing, letting the final 2 remaining participants know it was time for the final challenge. Katie woke up with no feeling, no emotions, nothing. She sat and stared at the ceiling, and was content with waiting for those beefy men to walk in with their axes and kill her right there in that bed. However, Katie decided against this. She told herself, cooking is what you love, and if you're gonna die, might as well die doing what you love. She put her chef jacket on one final time and head downstairs. Chefs, congratulations on making it to the final round, Cypress congratulates. For your final challenge, you will prepare a 3-course meal, an appetizer, an entree, and a dessert. You have 2 hours. This is your final chance to leave everything on the plate and show us what you truly are capable of. Your time starts now. Katie felt a mixture of exhaustion and determination as she began to prep. The competition had taken its toll, and she felt emotionally drained, but she was resolved to finish strong. She decided a trio of dishes that would showcase her skills in culinary creativity. For the appetizer, a seared scallop with citrus fennel salad. For the entree, a rack of lamb with rosemary and garlic, accompanied by a truffle mashed potato and asparagus. And for dessert, a chocolate hazelnut torte with raspberry coulis. Driscoll had planned an ambitious menu. For the appetizer, foie gras with a fig reduction. For the entree, a sous vide duck breast with a cherry glaze, served with wild rice and broccolini. And for dessert, a lemon meringue tart, which he claimed was in honor of Patrick since the bonehead Irish self was unable to do it correctly. As the clock started, Katie moved with mechanical precision, her face a mask of concentration. She started with a scallop, carefully cleaning and preparing them before setting them aside. Next, she began working on the lamb, methodically seasoning and searing the meat before placing it in the oven. She worked on her mashed potatoes, infusing them with truffle oil for an added layer of luxury. Driscoll, meanwhile, was keeping one eye on his dish and the other on Katie, looking for opportunities to disrupt her progress. He attempted to nudge her scallops off the counter while passing by, but Katie caught them just in time, giving him a steely look. Katie just gave the look of, "Really?" to Driscoll. She could not believe he was still trying to sabotage the game. "Just keeping things interesting," Driscoll replied with a smirk, returning to his station. Katie continued to deflect Driscoll's attempts to sabotage her. When he accidentally knocked over her container of truffle oil, she calmly retrieved another bottle from the pantry. When he tried to crank up the heat on her oven, she caught it and reset it without missing a beat. The first hour flew by, and the judges walked by observing the chef's progress. Katie's appetizer came together beautifully, the seared scallop perfectly caramelized and paired with a refreshing citrus fennel salad. Driscoll's foie gras looked equally impressive, though his constant side-eye at Katie's station was noticed by the judges. As the second hour ticked by, Katie focused on her entree. The lamb was resting, the truffle mashed potatoes was creamy and smooth, and the asparagus was blanched to perfection. She began plating with the same mechanical precision, her mind slowly focused on the task at hand. Driscoll, growing increasingly frustrated with his failed attempts at sabotage, decided to focus entirely on his own dish. His sous vide duck breast was cooked perfectly, and he meticulously plated it with a cherry glaze, wild rice, and broccolini. With 20 minutes left, the desserts began. Katie worked swiftly on her chocolate hazelnut torte, melting the chocolate and preparing the hazelnut crust. Driscoll, meanwhile, assembled the lemon meringue tart, the components laid out artfully on the plate. As the final seconds ticked down, both chefs were exhausted, evident on their faces. The host called out, "Time's up, step away from your stations." The judges began with the appetizers. Katie's seared scallop was praised for the perfect execution and harmonious flavors. Driscoll's foie gras received high marks for its richness and sweetness of the fig reduction. Next, they moved into entrees. Katie's lack of ram was triumphant, the meat tender and flavorful, complemented perfectly by the truffle mashed potatoes and asparagus. Driscoll's duck breast was also impressive, the cherry glaze providing a delightful contrast into the savory meat. Finally, the judges tasted dessert. Katie's chocolate hazelnut tort was a decadent end to her meal, the richness of chocolate balanced with the tartness of raspberry coulis. Driscoll's lemon meringue tart was visually stunning and full of bright, zesty flavors. Driscoll felt like he had it in the bag. His smile was as big as the earth was long, confident that he would win this contest, until one judge comment made his world crash down. "Chef Driscoll, your tart crust is undercooked. I'd say even more undercooked than Patrick's from last round. I thought his was bad. This was very poorly executed lemon meringue tart." The judges deliberated, their expressions serious as they weighed the strengths of each meal. The host called Katie and Driscoll to the front of the set. "Chefs, you both delivered exceptional three-course meals. The decision was incredibly difficult, but there can only be one winner. The chef who will be crowned the sliced champion is Chef Katie." Katie felt a wave of relief and pride wash over her. She had done it. Despite the exhaustion, the sabotage attempts, and the intense pressure, she had come out on top. Driscoll's face fell, but he forced a smile and extended his hand to Katie. "Congratulations, Katie. Well deserved." Cypress stepped forward, holding up Katie's hand in victory. "Congratulations, Chef Katie. You are the slice champion." Katie was handed the check for $1 million. She wanted to smile, but out of the corner of her eyes, she watched as the final victim was executed. Driscoll took his final breath as his head rolled on the floor in front of Katie. "Does this mean I get to go home now?" asked Katie. Laughing at the comment, Cypress asked Katie, "What about the restaurant? Aren't you wanting to go plan that?" At this point, Katie just wants to be back in that Brownsville apartment. She would give the money back just to go see the sun once more and walk away free. "You see, Katie, there is one more thing to this competition that we've been hiding," Cypress said in a devious way. "You are the slice champion, and you have won the $1 million. If you want the restaurant as well as to leave here alive, you have one final competition." Katie's eyes widened as she thought it was over. She could go home. What else could they possibly have planned? "Katie, to win, you have to make one more meal. You will be facing off against someone who holds much higher regards in the culinary world than just slice champion," states Cypress. "You will be facing off against one of the greatest chefs to ever grace the universe, as well as one of the head producers of this show, Chef Otto Gannon." The air thickened to the point that Katie couldn't breathe as from behind the curtain, Chef Otto Gannon walked out. The man who made her life hell the past 5 years was the man who decided if she will live past an hour from now or not. Not only that, but the man who screamed at her and made her feel inferior to any other chef in the world was the man who was behind the whole show. The man who held her back in life is the one who holds the keys to her success. Katie thought about grabbing the butcher knife that was just a few feet away and slicing his head off, but Katie thought better of it. She knows what he's about. He's not a real chef. He's a statue, a puppet, a public figure who takes all the glory from someone else's work. Katie was going to beat him at his own game. "Welcome to the ultimate cook-off," explained Cypress. In a surprising twist, our champion, Chef Katie, will now face off against the renowned Chef Otto Gannon. The challenge is simple. Create a dish that showcases your culinary expertise. You have 1 hour, and your time starts now. Katie felt a surge of determination as she began to prep. She had decided on her dish that showcased her skills and creativity: a deconstructed beef Wellington with a red wine reduction and a side of roasted Brussels sprouts with a raspberry and cranberry reduction. She worked with precision and focus that had brought her this far, blocking out the pressure and presence of her former boss. Otto, with his charismatic arrogance, had chosen a dish he believed would secure his victory: a gourmet chicken roulade stuffed with wild mushrooms and spinach. Served with a saffron risotto and a delicate asparagus salad, he moved with an air of confidence, fully expecting to dominate the competition. As the clock ticked down, Katie expertly seared her beef, ensuring the perfect crust before wrapping it in prosciutto and puff pastry. She began working on her sides, reducing the raspberry and cranberries while seasoning her Brussels sprouts perfectly. Otto, meanwhile, focused on his chicken roulade, rolling the chicken breast with mushroom and spinach filling before securing them and placing them in the oven. He frequently glazed over at Katie, his expression a mix of disdain and irritation. Despite the pressure, Katie remained composed. She plated her beef Wellington with an artistic flair, the pastry golden and flaky, the beef tender and perfectly cooked. Her Brussels sprouts were roasted beautifully and aromatic, and the reduction added a rich, flavorful finish. Otto, however, was growing increasingly frustrated as the clock winded down. In his haste, he failed to notice that his chicken roulade was undercooked. He hurried and plated the dish, hoping the presentation would distract from the culinary error. The judges, renowned chefs with discerning palates, approached the station to taste the final dishes. They began with Katie, who watched anxiously as they sampled her beef Wellington. "The beef is cooked to perfection," one judge remarked. "The flavors are balanced beautifully, and the presentation is stunning." Another judge nodded in agreement. "These Brussels sprouts are divine, and the reduction ties the dish together wonderfully." Katie felt a surge of pride and relief. She had done her best, and the judges were impressed. Next, the judges moved to Otto's station. They cut into the chicken roulade, immediately noticing the pink center. One judge raised an eyebrow. "His chicken is undercooked," he said, pushing the plate away. "This is a serious flaw." Despite the critical error, the judges' expression remained unreadable as they deliberated. The host called the chefs to the front for the final verdict. Katie knew that she was going to win this. She just embarrassed the Chef Otto Gannon on national TV. Her life would be saved. However, she seemed concerned with the look that Otto was giving. "Chefs, you both presented your best efforts in this ultimate cook-off. However, only one can be the grand prize winner." Katie held her breath, anticipation and hope mingling with the fatigue of the competition. "And the winner is Chef Otto Gannon." Katie's heart sank. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. It was as if time had stopped. The judges had clearly noted the raw chicken, yet Otto was declared the winner. The reality hit her hard. The competition was rigged. She stepped forward, unable to contain her anger and frustration. "This is ridiculous. Otto's chicken was raw. Everyone saw it. This competition is a sham." "Chef Katie, please, let's keep things civil," said Cypress. "Take your loss with some dignity. He is Chef Otto Gannon, after all. I think a loss to him isn't that big of a blemish." "No, this is not fair," Katie continued, her voice shaking with emotion. "I've worked too hard to be cheated like this. The whole thing is rigged and everyone deserves to know." Otto smirked, clearly enjoying the outburst. "Calm down, Katie. It's just a competition." But Katie refused to back down. "It's not just a competition. It's my life on the line. You get to go home tonight and enjoy the penthouse view of Manhattan. You get your life of luxury. You get to go to your restaurant tomorrow without even thinking about how my body is going to be hitting the floor in a minute." "Katie, let's calm down. Everything will be over soon," said Cypress. "Screw you, Cypress. You knew this whole time what this was, didn't you?" asked Katie. "All the way back at the train station, you knew how this was going to end. It was never a competition. It was a way for the rich to laugh at 12 chefs who were fighting for their dreams, only to find out their dreams would never be reality." "Enough," screamed Otto. "Guards, kill her." The guards started moving towards Katie. Katie starts to run. She makes it to the front door, but just as all the other times she checks, it's boarded up and locked with a gate. She runs to her room with an idea. She closes her door, hoping the guards saw her. She goes into the vent that leads into Patrick's room and tries to pry it off. She pulls with all her might, hoping it will pop loose. Finally, it does. Katie climbs through the vent to go to the other side. She tries to put the gate back so the guards don't notice. She does it, just in time as the guards plow the door down. Katie watches as they search the room. Katie sits down on the bed and tries to plan her next move. She is still trapped. At this time, Patrick's door clicked. The weight came crashing down on Katie as she turned around to see the door slowly opening. When the door opened, there stood Otto Gannon. "Katie, my naive Katie, you fell right into my trap," says Otto. "How did you know I was in here?" Katie starts to scream for help, knowing there's no hope. "Katie, all those late night conversations with Patrick, was that his name? Who cares? Because the Patrick from the competition is not the Patrick that you know from these hotel rooms. You see that computer behind you? That's Patrick. AI is truly terrifying, isn't it? It was you the whole time, Katie asked with concern. Sure was. Suck you didn't get to know the real Patrick. Seemed like such a nice guy, says Otto. Why are you trying to do this to me? Asked Katie. I wanted you gone. People were starting to notice that you were the one running the show at my restaurant, and magazines started to call me a phony, a statue, or a trophy, something that people come in to idolize. But the real chef is Katie Thompson, who gets no recognition. Jealousy? All this because you were jealous? I got a little recognition? Doesn't matter now. Guards, come and finish your job. She can't run anymore, says Otto. 2 men came from behind the door, but they weren't guards. They were police officers. Otto Gannon, you are wanted for the murder of 11 victims and the attempted murder of another one. Please lift your hands above your head and walk straight back to us, says the officer. Otto looked at Katie and knew it was over. He lifted his hands up and walked towards the officers without resistance. The policemen escorted Katie outside where the sun was coming down and hit her face for the first time in almost 2 weeks. She could finally breathe. The cops asked so many questions. Katie answered them all. She went over the cooking show, the murders, everything. At the end, Katie just wanted to go home. She caught the next plane to New York City, where she would go to her apartment in Brownsville. She went past the elevator that for some reason was now working. She continued walking to the stairway, though, and walked up 12 flights of stairs to her apartment. That smelled ever worse than before. There was a dead rat in her sink, but she didn't care at that moment. She fell face first into the bed, and it went straight through the frame and hit the floor. And Katie just laughed. At this moment, she was just happy to be back home. A few months later, we would find Katie in her lawyer's office. Okay, Miss Thompson, sign here and the restaurant is officially yours, says the lawyer. Katie ended up getting even more than the $1 million off of the court case involving Otto. She would walk into her own restaurant, previously named the Lumineer. She would remodel the place and give it a fresh new name, Sliced. On opening night, everything ran smoothly as before. The sous chefs all respected her, and she didn't scream. She encouraged them to do better, so one day they could all own their own restaurant. She declared to never let success get to her. She would never be like Otto. At the end of the night, Katie was walking down the street when someone stopped her. Miss Thompson, I love the food tonight. I was wondering if you can do catering. I'm planning an event for next week and would pay you anything to have your restaurant be the food at this event. Of course, we would love to. Give me your card and I can reach out to you tomorrow and set everything up, Katie says with enthusiasm. The man gave Katie his card. Looking forward to hearing from you. He walked away. Katie continued walking down the street. After a few steps, she looked at the card. The card was blank, but read one thing. Season 2. Well, that is going to do it. We have another story in the books. I hope that you guys did enjoy our journey of Sliced and watching Chef Katie through her few weeks at the Sliced cooking competition. So, as always, if you enjoy, please click that like and hit that subscribe button. We make videos 3 times a week. Every single Monday, we do an episode of Echoes of the Past, which is my series where I cover the history of a haunted location and possibly why it is haunted and who is haunting it. Every single Wednesday, we do an episode of Far From Fiction, which is my true crime series. And then, of course, every Friday, we do an episode of the Friday Night Campfire Stories. But I have to make a little bit of an announcement because you may look at a calendar and notice that there are 5 Fridays in this month. You see, my short stories are all 4 chapters long. On YouTube, the first Friday of every single month, we start a brand new story. After that, we go through each chapter 1 week at a time. However, next Friday, there is not going to be a new story because it's a weird month where there are 5 Fridays. It's only going to happen a few times a year. So, with that being said, don't have fear though. There will be another video. It won't be a story, but it will be another video that I think you guys might find intriguing. So, of course, come back and check that out. Check out the other series as well. Like I said, Echoes of the Past every Monday, Far From Fiction every Wednesday, and then the Friday Night Campfire Stories every single Friday. Also, my new story, or my collection of short stories, Whisper in the Shadow, is now available. I don't know if you guys can see it because the lighting is not great in here. Whisper in the Shadows is available now on Amazon. You can get the physical edition, which I have, and I'm very happy with. It feels really cool. to have an actual book. But I also have the e-reader version that is available on Amazon as well. The link is in the top of the description. So if you could, please check that out. But that is all I have for you guys. I hope that you guys did enjoy. Please click that like button, hit that subscribe button, and as always, thank you for spending a little bit of your Friday here with me.